Late at night, the kitchen in the Bennett mansion stood silent. In the glow of the refrigerator light, a small girl sat hunched over holding a plate of leftovers. When Ethan Bennett, the tech billionaire, walked in, his eyes landed on that exact moment. The girl startled. Her fork clattered to the floor with a cold, sharp clink. "Why are you eating that?" he asked, his voice hoarse. She bowed her head. "I just didn't want Mom to know. I was hungry." No one in that luxurious home could have guessed that this small moment would melt the iron heart of this man. But before we continue, comment and tell us where you're watching this video from. We'd love to know how far our story has traveled, and make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Now let's get into the story. 12-year-old Ana Lopez and her mother Maria lived in a small room beside the garage of the Bennett estate. Maria was a longtime housekeeper for Ethan Bennett, CEO of Novatech Corporation. Ethan lived in a world of spreadsheets, contracts, and luxury where every meal had a private chef and leftover food exceeded what they ate in a week. Maria worked tirelessly, rarely eating with her daughter. She always gave her own portion to Ana. Ana was quiet, well-behaved, and loved to draw. Every evening she sat gazing through the kitchen's glass window where the dining table glowed brightly, laden with dishes she'd never tasted. She felt no envy. She only wanted to understand, why can't the full see the hunger of the empty? One night she heard her stomach growling, and in the dim light of the refrigerator, she decided to quietly step out. The Bennett mansion sprawled across 5 acres of manicured grounds. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, rooms so vast they echoed. Ana had memorized every corner during the years her mother worked there. She knew which floorboards creaked, which hallways the motion sensors covered, which times Mr. Bennett retreated to his home office. The kitchen was her favorite room to observe. Not because of the food, though, that certainly drew her eye, but because of what happened there. It was where the chef prepared elaborate meals for one person, where caterers arrived for parties serving 50 guests, where trays of untouched appetizers were wrapped and discarded the next morning. Ana had asked her mother once, "Why do they make so much if no one eats it?" Maria had replied gently, "That's just how wealthy people live, mija. It's not for us to question." But Ana did question. Constantly. She questioned why Mr. Bennett ate alone at a table built for 12. Why his daughter's bedroom remained untouched, frozen in time like a museum. Why sadness seemed to cling to the walls despite all the luxury. Her mother had told her the story in whispers. Mr. Bennett's daughter Sophie had died 3 years ago. Leukemia. Only 10 years old. After that, he'd thrown himself into work, built his company into an empire, filled his home with expensive things, but never people. The staff kept their distance. He preferred it that way. Professional. Transactional. No emotional entanglements. Maria was one of the few who'd stayed, not because the pay was exceptional, though it was fair, but because she understood grief. She'd lost Ana's father to a construction accident when Ana was 2. She recognized the hollow look in Mr. Bennett's eyes. Ana had grown up in the shadows of this mansion, doing homework in the laundry room, reading library books in the garden shed, sketching pictures while her mother vacuumed. She'd learned to be invisible. Children weren't supposed to be seen in homes like this, but invisibility came with a certain freedom. She could observe without being observed, notice without being noticed. And what she noticed was waste. Not just food, though, that bothered her most, but waste of everything. Time. Space. Potential for connection. The kitchen particularly haunted her. After Mr. Bennett's dinner parties, she'd watch her mother pack up barely touched salmon, untouched vegetables, whole cakes with a single slice removed. "Where does it go?" Ana asked once. "Composted or thrown away?" Maria answered tiredly. "Can't we?" "No, baby. That's not for us." But Ana's stomach disagreed, especially on nights when her mother was too exhausted to cook and they shared a single can of soup. She'd lie in bed hearing her mother's breathing, knowing Maria had skipped meals again to stretch their grocery budget. And she'd think about that kitchen, that refrigerator full of abundance, just on the other side of a door she wasn't supposed to open. The temptation grew each night. Not from greed, but from something simpler, the basic human need to not feel hungry. Until finally, one night, hunger won over fear. She waited until her mother's breathing deepened into sleep, slipped from their small room, crossed the dark courtyard, entered through the service door she'd seen her mother use 1,000 times, and found herself standing in the cold glow of the refrigerator holding someone else's leftover dinner, about to cross a line she could never uncross. When Maria slept, Anna tiptoed into the kitchen. On the counter sat leftovers from Ethan's dinner party with business partners. Roasted chicken beef tenderloin salad still perfectly arranged. Anna opened a container, planning to eat just a few bites, then clean up so no one would know. But right then the door opened. The sound of leather shoes clicked slowly across the floor. Ethan Bennett walked in. He froze when he saw the girl sitting on the floor, hands trembling, eyes full of terror. The spoon fell, making a sharp clink. "Why are you here in the middle of the night?" "I was just eating a little." No one was going to eat it anymore. He stood silent, looking around, the party table still full, and the girl wearing pajamas patched at the shoulder, thin enough that her collarbone showed prominently. "Where's your mother?" "Sleeping. She worked all day. She's exhausted. I didn't want her to worry." He looked at the plate of food, then back at the girl. Something stirred in his eyes, a feeling he hadn't touched in a long time, heartache. The kitchen was pristine. Stainless steel appliances that gleamed. Granite countertops without a single scratch. A Sub-Zero refrigerator that cost more than most people's cars. And in the middle of it all, a child eating scraps like a stray animal. Ethan had come downstairs because he couldn't sleep. Again. Another night of staring at the ceiling, thinking about quarterly reports, acquisition strategies, anything to avoid thinking about Sophie. He'd wanted a glass of water, something to occupy his hands. Instead, he found this. Anna remained frozen on the floor, the container of chicken still in her lap. She looked ready to bolt like a deer caught in headlights. Ethan realized his presence was frightening her. He softened his stance, pulled out one of the kitchen stools, sat down slowly, putting himself at her eye level. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked quietly. "This is the first time," she whispered. "I promise. I've never taken anything before." "That's not what I asked." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. Please don't fire my mom. She doesn't know. She'd be so upset if she knew I—" "Anna." He said her name gently, surprising himself that he remembered it. "I'm not going to fire anyone. I just want to understand. How long have you been hungry?" The question hung in the air. No one had ever asked her that before. Not directly. "I'm not hungry," she lied automatically. "I just—" Her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. Ethan's expression shifted. Something cracked in the carefully maintained wall he'd built around his emotions. He stood, walked to the refrigerator, and began pulling out containers. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, dinner rolls. "What are you doing?" Anna asked, confused. "Making you a proper plate." But no buts. He found a clean dish, arranged the food carefully, placed it in the microwave. While it heated, he poured a glass of milk. When the microwave beeped, he set the warm plate on the counter along with silverware and a napkin. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the stool beside him. Anna climbed up hesitantly, as if expecting this to be some kind of test or trap. The food smelled incredible. Steam rose from the chicken. The potatoes were creamy with butter. "Eat," Ethan said. She picked up the fork with shaking hands, took a small bite, then another. Ethan watched her eat with the careful precision of someone who'd learned not to appear too hungry. Small bites, long pauses, trying to make it last. It reminded him of something, a memory he'd buried deep. He'd been 8 years old, his mother working 2 jobs, his father gone, coming home to an empty apartment, stomach aching, finding a neighbor's discarded pizza box in the hallway trash. He'd eaten those cold crusts sitting on the stairwell, making sure no one saw. That shame. That specific flavor of poverty that tastes like someone else's garbage. He'd forgotten. Or rather, he'd chosen to forget. Success had a way of erasing the past, of making you believe you'd always been the person you are now rather than the person you once were. When did you last have a full meal? He asked. Anna swallowed. Mom made rice and beans on Sunday. That was 4 days ago. We eat, just not as much lately. Mom's been giving me her portions. And you let her. She's stronger than me. She needs energy for work. The logic was heartbreaking. A child making adult calculations about survival. Ethan thought about his own daughter. Sophie had never known hunger, had complained about foods being too plain, or not what she wanted. He'd indulged her, let her be picky, thrown away plate after plate of perfectly good food. And now here was another child, the same age Sophie would have been, eating leftover chicken like it was a feast. Anna, he said slowly, from now on if you're hungry you come to this kitchen. You don't hide, you don't wait, you just come. Do you understand? She looked at him with wide eyes. But Mom said, I don't care what your mom said. I'm telling you now. This is your home too. He didn't scold her, only said, eat. The girl was stunned. But this belongs to someone else. Now it belongs to you. Anna ate slowly, taking small bites. Ethan sat across from her in silence. He asked, do you eat like this often? Only when Mom forgets to eat. He nodded slightly, then opened the refrigerator and retrieved a glass of milk. No one should have to hide to be fed. When Maria discovered her daughter wasn't in bed, she rushed out in panic, then froze when she saw her employer sitting across from her child. Sir, I'm so sorry. I'll discipline her. Ethan interrupted. There's no need to apologize. I'm the one who needs to say it. From that day forward, he began to notice. Every morning he saw Maria still leaving for work before dawn, her daughter sitting alone studying with a stale piece of bread. He remembered he'd once been that poor, but had forgotten. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken things. Maria stood in the doorway, her worn nightgown and tired eyes suddenly visible in the bright kitchen lights. She looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable than she ever appeared during work hours. Mrs. Lopez, Ethan said, standing. Please sit. Sir, I should take Anna back to... Please. His tone was gentle but firm. Sit. Maria moved hesitantly to the counter, positioning herself protectively near her daughter. Ethan remained standing, his hands in his pockets, suddenly aware of how this must look. The wealthy employer discovering the help's child stealing food in the middle of the night. But that wasn't what this was. He searched for the right words. How long has it been difficult? He asked. Maria's jaw tightened. We're managing fine, sir. Maria, please. The use of her first name, something he rarely did, made her look up. How long? Her shoulders sagged. My sister got sick 3 months ago. In El Salvador. I've been sending money for her treatment. The bills here. Groceries. Anna's school supplies. Her voice cracked. I thought I was managing. I didn't know she was... She looked at her daughter, tears spilling over. Mija, why didn't you tell me? Because you would have stopped sending money to Tia Carmen, Anna said quietly, and then she'd die. The simple, brutal logic of it silenced the room. Ethan felt something twist in his chest. These were the calculations poverty forced people to make. Save your sister or feed your child. Keep your dignity or ask for help. He'd made similar calculations once. Remembered his mother crying in the bathroom, thinking he couldn't hear. Remembered choosing between lunch money and new shoes. Remembered the shame of free lunch tickets. When had he forgotten? When had his life become so insulated that he couldn't see suffering happening under his own roof? I pay you fairly, he said, though it sounded hollow even to his own ears. You do, sir, very fairly. This isn't about wages. Life just costs more than it used to. He thought about his own expenses. The wine he'd served tonight cost more than Maria's weekly grocery budget. The food thrown away could have fed her family for a month. The waste wasn't just careless, it was obscene. Your sister, he said. What kind of treatment does she need? Cancer. Cervical. The hospital in San Salvador. Maria shook her head. It doesn't matter. We'll manage. How much, sir? How much is needed for her treatment? Maria looked down. $12,000 for surgery and chemotherapy. But I'm not asking. Consider it handled. She stared at him. Sir, I can't accept. It's not charity. It's. He struggled to find the right word. It's paying attention. Something I should have been doing all along. Anna watched the exchange with wide eyes, her half-eaten meal forgotten. Ethan pulled out his phone, typed quickly. I'm wiring the money tonight. Give me the hospital details tomorrow. Mr. Bennett, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, just. He looked at Anna. Just make sure your daughter never has to hide to eat again. That's all I ask. Maria broke down, covering her face with her hands. Anna slipped off her stool and wrapped her arms around her mother. Ethan turned away, giving them privacy, staring out the kitchen window at the dark grounds. His reflection stared back. A middle-aged man in expensive pajamas standing in a kitchen that cost more to renovate than most people earned in a year. What had he become, Sophie used to tell him when he was being too businessy. She'd crawl into his lap during video calls and demand he pay attention to her instead of his emails. Daddy people are more important than money. She'd said once, maybe 7 years old. He'd smiled and kissed her head. You're absolutely right, princess. But had he believed it, or just said what a good father was supposed to say? After she died, he'd poured himself into work, made more money, built a bigger empire, filled his life with expensive things. But somewhere along the way, he'd stopped seeing people. They'd become functions. The housekeeper, the chef, the driver, the gardener. Not Maria, who had a sick sister. Not Anna, who went to bed hungry. Not human beings with struggles and dreams and fears. Just functions. He turned back to face them. From tomorrow, he said, you both eat breakfast here, in the dining room, with me. That's not a request. Maria started to protest. Please, he added softly. I'd like the company. One morning Anna woke to find the breakfast table transformed: 2 portions of pancakes, a small glass of milk. A note placed beside them. No one should eat alone. Maria was moved but still hesitant. That evening while cleaning up, Ethan told her, I once lived on stale bread for 6 months. Now I just want to make sure that people in my home never have to hide their hunger. He allowed the mother and daughter to eat together in the side kitchen area. Not as charity, but as respect. Anna began telling stories, asking about his work, about how the robots in the company are made. Ethan smiled, feeling his heart warm for the first time in years. The girl made him realize it wasn't money, but genuine care that truly creates humanity. The next morning arrived with golden light streaming through the tall windows. Anna stood nervously outside the dining room door, wearing her best dress, a faded blue thing with white flowers that she'd outgrown slightly. Maria had braided her hair carefully, hands trembling with a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. We shouldn't, Maria whispered. This isn't appropriate. He asked us to, Anna reminded her. Wouldn't it be rude not to? The logic was sound, even if the situation felt surreal. They entered to find Ethan already seated, reading the newspaper with reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked up, folded the paper, and gestured to the chairs beside him. Good morning. Good morning, sir, Maria said stiffly. Ethan, he corrected. When we're eating together, just Ethan. The chef, Marcus, emerged from the kitchen with a slightly confused expression, carrying plates of scrambled eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, and toast. He'd been cooking for one person for 3 years. The sudden expansion of the breakfast table had required explanation. Mr. Bennett has guests now, was all Ethan had said. Marcus set the plates down with professional efficiency, though his eyes lingered curiously on Anna. Anna stared at the plate before her. More food than she typically saw in a day. Steam rose from the eggs. The bacon was perfectly crispy. The fruit looked like it belonged in a magazine. Eat, Ethan said gently, noticing her hesitation. Before it gets cold. She picked up her fork, tentatively, took a small bite of eggs. Her eyes widened. It's good, Ethan asked. It's perfect, she breathed. Maria ate with careful dignity. But Ethan noticed the way her eyes briefly closed in appreciation. How long had it been since she'd had a proper breakfast? So, Ethan said, cutting into his own food, "Anna, your mother mentioned you're doing well in school." Anna nodded, swallowing quickly. "I like math and art." Math and art. That's an interesting combination. "They're not that different," she said, gaining confidence. "Math is about patterns. Art is too. You're just showing patterns in different ways." Ethan paused mid-bite, genuinely intrigued. "I've never thought about it like that." "Sophie used to say something similar," he added quietly. "She loved patterns too. Butterflies mostly. Used to collect pictures of them, organize them by symmetry." The name hung in the air. Maria's fork stilled. She'd never heard him mention his daughter voluntarily before. "What was her favorite?" Anna asked softly. "Monarchs, because they migrate thousands of miles but always find their way home." His voice caught. "She said they were proof that small things could be stronger than anyone expected." Anna considered this. "She sounds like she was really smart." "She was." Ethan met her eyes. "She would have liked you." The conversation shifted naturally after that. Ethan asked about Anna's classes, her favorite subjects. She asked about Novatech, what the company actually did. "We develop artificial intelligence systems," he explained. "Machines that can learn and solve problems. Like teaching robots to think. Something like that." "Do they feel things?" Anna asked. "The robots? No. They simulate responses, but they don't actually feel." "That's sad," Anna said. "To think without feeling. That would be lonely." Ethan looked at her sharply. Out of the mouths of children. Wasn't that exactly what he'd become? Thinking without feeling. Moving through life with simulated responses. Lonely. "Yes," he agreed quietly. "It would be." Over the following days, breakfast became routine. Anna would arrive with her backpack, do homework at the table while Ethan reviewed reports. They'd eat together, conversation flowing more naturally each morning. Maria still felt awkward, but Ethan was patient. He asked about her day, listened to stories about difficult stains or broken appliances, treated her like a person rather than staff. One morning, Anna brought her sketchbook. "Can I show you something?" she asked shyly. "Of course." She opened to a drawing, the Bennett mansion, but viewed from her small room. Windows glowing warmly, the kitchen visible through glass walls. "This is how I used to see your house," she explained. "Like a different world. Separate." She turned the page. Another drawing. The dining room table. 3 figures seated together. Light surrounding them. "This is how it feels now." Ethan studied the drawing for a long moment. "Could I keep this?" he asked. Really, really. That afternoon he had it professionally framed and hung in his office, where the quarterly reports and market analyses hung, a reminder of what actually mattered. His assistant Jennifer noticed immediately. "That's beautiful. Where did it come from?" "A very talented young artist," Ethan replied. "She's teaching me to see things differently." "Must be quite an artist." "She is. Though her real gift isn't the drawing." He looked at the picture thoughtfully. "It's helping people remember what they've forgotten." Jennifer didn't press for details, but she noted the change in him. The softness around his eyes. The way he smiled more readily. Something had shifted. After 3 years of grief-driven isolation, Ethan Bennett was finally coming back to life. And it had taken a hungry child in his kitchen to wake him up. One day Maria collapsed in the kitchen. Ethan rushed her to the hospital and discovered she was suffering from severe malnutrition. He found in her wallet only 2 bills folded in half and a crumpled drawing by Anna. "Mama, when I grow up, I'll buy you a meal where you don't have to ask anyone." Ethan held that paper for a long time. He remembered he'd once had a daughter lost when she was only 10. That night he went to Anna's bedside and said, "From now on you'll never have to hide your hunger again." He established the Anna Foundation Scholarship Fund to support children in difficult circumstances. Not out of pity, but as a promise to his conscience. The hospital room was sterile and cold. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Maria lay unconscious, an IV drip feeding nutrients into her depleted body. The doctor's words echoed in Ethan's mind. Chronic malnutrition. Her body has been running on empty for months. Another week, and we'd be looking at organ failure. Anna sat in the corner chair, knees pulled to her chest, eyes red from crying. Ethan stood by the window, Maria's belongings in a clear plastic bag. Her wallet, her phone, her work badge. He opened the wallet not to invade privacy, but to find emergency contact information. Inside, $17. A photo of Anna as a toddler. A prayer card worn soft from handling. And folded carefully, protected in a sleeve meant for credit cards, the drawing. The paper was old. The crayon marks faded. Anna must have made it years ago. The handwriting was childish letters, uneven. "Mama, when I grow up, I'll buy you a meal where you don't have to ask anyone." Below it, a picture of two stick figures at a table, smiling. Such a simple dream. Such an impossible distance between dream and reality. Ethan's hands shook as he held it. He thought about his own daughter's drawings still tucked in his office drawer. Pictures of rainbows and unicorns and elaborate castles. Dreams that came easily when the world felt safe and abundant. Sophie had never drawn a picture about having enough food. Because she'd always had enough. More than enough. Everything. Until she had nothing. Until leukemia took it all away. He'd spent 2 years fighting. The best doctors. Experimental treatments. Clinical trials across 3 continents. He'd thrown money at the problem like money could solve everything. But it couldn't. And when she died, something in him died too. The part that believed caring about things mattered. The part that felt connected to other people's pain. He'd locked it away, built walls, focused on things he could control, spreadsheets, market shares, profit margins, until a hungry child cracked those walls open. "Mr. Bennett." He turned. Anna stood beside him, small and frightened. "Is my mom going to die?" The question was direct. Children asked things adults danced around. "No," he said firmly. "She's going to be fine. The doctors are taking good care of her. I should have told someone. I should have made her eat. Anna, this isn't your fault. She was giving me her food. I knew. I should have. You're 12 years old. This was never your responsibility." But he heard the echo of his own guilt in her words. The survivor's arithmetic. The endless what-ifs. He sat down beside her, the drawing still in his hands. "Your mother kept this," he said, showing it to her. Anna's eyes filled with fresh tears. "I made that when I was 7. I'd forgotten about it." She didn't forget. She carried it every day. "I haven't bought her that meal yet. I haven't done anything." Ethan looked at this child carrying burdens no child should carry and made a decision. What if we changed that, not just for your mother but for other kids like you? Anna looked up confused. Over the next 3 days while Maria recovered, Ethan worked. He established the Anna Foundation with an initial endowment of $5 million. The mission was specific: identify children in working families who were struggling despite parental employment. Provide not just food assistance, but educational support, healthcare dignity. No applications, no bureaucracy. Direct intervention when needs were identified. The first recipient would be Anna herself, a full scholarship through university, plus a living stipend for her family. But 50 other children would join her by year's end. When Maria woke, groggy but stable, Ethan was there. "My job," she whispered immediately. "I'm so sorry. Your job is secure. Your salary is doubled. And your sister's medical bills are paid in full." Maria's eyes widened. "Sir, I can't. It's already done, and there's more." He explained about the foundation, about Anna's scholarship, about his plans to expand the program. "Why?" Maria asked, tears streaming. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan thought about Sophie, about the drawing in Maria's wallet, about the breakfast table that no longer felt empty. "Because your daughter reminded me what I'd forgotten," he said simply. "That the measure of success isn't what you accumulate. It's what you notice. What you do when you finally see. And I'm finally seeing. Anna became an honor student at St. Clair Academy, known as the little girl who made a billionaire cry. In a television interview, she was asked, "What do you think about Mr. Bennett?" She answered, "He didn't save me. He just remembered that he once needed saving too." Ethan watched from his office, eyes wet. He knew the girl had taught him life's greatest lesson. Small people don't need pity. They just need to be seen. The interview aired during prime time. Clips went viral within hours. "Child poverty advocate speaks truth to power," read one headline. But Anna rejected that framing when reporters followed up. "I'm not a poverty advocate," she said. "I'm just someone who remembers being hungry. That's not special. Millions of kids remember. The special part is when someone with power remembers too." The Anna Foundation had grown beyond Ethan's initial vision. 3 years in, it supported 200 families across 5 states. Not just with money, but with mentorship, healthcare, navigation, college preparation. The model was being studied by nonprofits nationwide. But Ethan remained hands-on. He insisted on meeting each scholarship recipient personally, learning their stories, understanding their dreams. "Why do you do this?" a board member asked during a strategy meeting. "You could hire people to handle the personal interactions." "Because the moment I stop seeing them as individuals, we've failed," Ethan replied. "This isn't charity. It's relationship." Anna had become the foundation's unofficial ambassador. At 15, she spoke at fundraisers with a poise that belied her age. She told her story without shame or self-pity. Just facts. "I ate leftovers from a refrigerator because I was hungry. A man saw me. He didn't judge. He didn't pity. He just remembered his own hunger. And that changed everything." The simplicity of it resonated. Donations poured in. Not from guilt, but from recognition. How many people had forgotten their own struggles? How many had built walls between their past and present? Anna made it okay to remember. At St. Clair Academy, she maintained straight A's while tutoring younger students. Her specialty was working with kids from difficult backgrounds, understanding their invisible burdens. "Why aren't you focusing on your homework?" teachers would ask struggling students. Anna would gently intervene. "Maybe we should ask if they've eaten today first." It changed the culture. Teachers began keeping granola bars in their desks. The school started a discreet meal assistance program. Small shifts, but profound. Maria had blossomed too. As director of family wellness at the foundation, she traveled to meet applicant families, assess needs, coordinate support. "I know what it looks like when someone is drowning," she'd tell her team. "Because I was drowning. We don't wait for people to ask for help. We throw the lifeline first." Her sister Carmen had survived cancer and immigrated to the United States. She now worked alongside Maria, bringing fierce compassion born from her own brush with mortality. The Bennett mansion felt different now. Not emptier, but fuller. Breakfast remained sacred. Anna Maria and Ethan, sometimes joined by Carmen, by foundation staff, by scholarship recipients visiting. The table built for 12 finally had purpose. And Ethan, for the first time since Sophie's death, felt something like peace. In the Bennett mansion, a new painting hung, created by Anna. The painting showed a brightly lit kitchen, 2 people sitting across from each other sharing a pancake. In the bottom corner, small letters read, "Thank you for letting me eat without hiding." Ethan sat looking at it for a long time. He no longer saw a poor girl. He saw himself forgiven. The painting had been Anna's gift for Ethan's 55th birthday. She'd worked on it for 3 months, getting every detail right. The exact shade of the refrigerator light. The pattern on the floor tiles. The way shadows fell across the counter. But the figures themselves were loose, impressionistic. Not faces, but presences. The feeling of 2 people in a moment of unexpected connection. Ethan had unwrapped it during a small dinner party. Foundation board members, close friends Maria and Carmen. When he saw it, he'd gone completely still. "Anna," he'd whispered. "This is..." He couldn't finish the sentence. She understood. The painting now occupied the place of honor in the dining room, visible from the breakfast table where their tradition continued. Every morning, Ethan saw it. Every morning he remembered. Not just that night in the kitchen, though he remembered that too. But everything it represented. The person he'd been. the person he'd become, the person he was still learning to be. Visitors often asked about it. "That's beautiful," they'd say. "Who's the artist?" "Someone who saved my life," Ethan would answer simply. And it was true. Not in the dramatic sense of pulling him from burning buildings or stopping his heart from failing, but in the quiet, profound way that matters more. She'd saved him from the worst kind of death, the death of empathy, of connection, of remembering that wealth means nothing if you can't see the poverty beside you. The painting wasn't just art. It was a mirror. And every morning when Ethan sat at that table, he made sure he was looking at a reflection he could live with. A man who finally understood the greatest luxury isn't abundance. It's having someone to share it with. Ana Lopez's story reminds us that kindness doesn't live in wallets, but in how we see others. A hungry child doesn't need pity, just a chair at the table. Compassion doesn't make us weaker. It makes the world less cold. I'm curious, what city are you listening to me from and what time is it there? Please write in the comments. Thank you for listening and sharing your precious time with me. For more life stories like this, check out the other videos on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe to Maid's Daughter Stories, to watch stories where people rediscover their humanity in a world of distance.